Yeah, sorry about that, y'all. It's two different lies. It's a crazy thing, but yeah, let's get into this article and let's break down if we can find out any more details about what's happening. Absolutely crazy. Let's get into it. Let's go over into this article. I gotta remove that button. Wrong thing. Let's get over into it. Let's break this down. Let's see if there any more details we can get into this article. So, a 15-year-old girl facing murder charges after police said she shot and killed her ex-boyfriend inside of his home. So, police said that they were called to reports of a shooting at around 5 p.m. Monday at the residence of Old York Road in the Abington Township. Once they found Baseman Baker, 17, lying on the bedroom floor, he had died from a gunshot wound to the head. Baker's mother told investigators that she had left her son and Precious Hamilton, 15, around alone in the apartment that afternoon to run errands. Hamilton had been staying with them since the previous Friday. When she came back at 4:30, she found the front door unlocked and discovered her son unresponsive. Surveillance video showed that she left the building around 3:30. When interviewed by the police, she said that she accidentally shot. So it seems like we've gotten the gist of everything. She's been charged with third-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and possession of a firearm by a minor and carrying a firearm without a license. She's currently held at the youth center. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that she just accidentally picked up the gun? I don't know. It's possible. Yes, yes. I can say it's possible. It's possible she accidentally picked up the gun and shot him. But first of all, she said that she stole the gun from an old acquaintance. She said that Hamilton said that she stole the gun from an acquaintance 2 months ago, or revolver. It's a problem that the youth are coming in possessions with guns so easily. Where are her parents? Absolutely crazy, y'all. This is a tragic situation. But she got to face the consequences of her actions. Yeah, this is what happens when you untrained young person picks up a gun. You hear about people dying from just picking up guns because they don't know what to do with a gun. They use it. They have it just to show off. Saw she was taking pictures with the gun and acting like she was a gangster. They use it more of like a prop, not thinking of what actual harm can be had from the weapon itself. And they end up taking the life of a 17-year-old boy. But straight to that's a crazy coincidence now. Straight to the head. A gunshot straight, not the body. It shot him in the head while she was trying to frantically pack up her stuff. Why? Hold on. The question is, why was she frantically packing up? So it says that. So when interviewed, Hamilton said that she accidentally shot Baker while grabbing the gun in a rapid fashion. The gun, which had been left in the cocked position, went off. Why? See. It's a tragic situation all around. It is a tragic situation all around. But there's a lot of questions. Why was it cocked in the first place? And if we being honest, she could be lying. We got to think about that possibility that this 15-year-old is lying about what happened. Because the only person in there who could tell the situation is dead. And no one else was in there. There's no cameras around. But what do y'all think, y'all? Do y'all think that she's lying, or you think she's telling the truth? That the gun just accidentally went off and shot her ex-boyfriend in the head. Absolutely crazy, y'all. But but at the end of the day, she's being charged. Third-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, possession of a firearm by a minor, and carrying a firearm without a license. At the end of the day, she threw away her life. I don't know how much time she'll get. She'll probably get 10 years. But her youth is over. She's always going to have that record on her. And let them not find out that you was plotting. Absolutely crazy. And she left the scene too. Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Let me know your thoughts, everybody. Let me know your thoughts. It's a crazy situation all around. Now, let's go over. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on that whole situation. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Now we're gonna pivot over into this next topic that I wasn't expecting. There's all these things I'm not expecting to see, but everyone's going crazy right now because a Halloween display showed an ICE execution. Yes, I said it right. A Halloween display showed an ICE execution. Some people just do what they want and they don't think any consequences. But let's get over into it.
A federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's deployment of National Guard troops to Chicago for now, as tensions on the streets continue to rise. Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker is out defending protesters.
There are people running around, and that's mayhem on the ground, and that's going to be the excuse to send troops in, or that's going to be the excuse to do more than they're already doing. All I can say is that I'm proud of the people who are peacefully protesting out there and doing the right thing if they want to.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott insists the troop deployment is necessary to restore law and order.
Now, because we have a president who's finally enforcing the laws of the United States, it's only natural, by extension, that if there's a need for that elite National Guard to provide assistance anywhere in the entire country, that it would be the National Guard called upon.
Meanwhile, ICE is facing a slew of assaults and threats. One agent's spouse got this message, which reads in part, retribution will come your way eventually.
Wow.
And in Houston, a Halloween display appears to show figures of ICE agents hung in a mock execution. Dr. Sapphire, we're talking about not just ICE agents who we know have been under threat, who have faced organized assaults on their facilities and sniper fire in Texas, to riots from Portland to the Chicago area. But when these threats become so personal, what does that mean to the hearts and the minds of these public servants that also have to get out there and do their jobs every day?
Yeah, I think it's being reported right now that the attacks on them is up like 1,000% over the last couple of years. And these are people who are going out, these are not the highest paying jobs you can get. These are government servants, and all they are doing is trying to protect our country and keep our community safe. Being an ICE official, that's not anti-immigrant, that is pro-community and pro-American. And, one of the things that I find honestly the most disturbing, first of all, people are continuing to demonize ICE. And I've seen people calling them like Nazis and comparing them to like the Gestapos of Nazism. I mean, we can have conversations about immigration policy without rewriting history entirely. The fact that Nazism was they hunted and they murdered innocents in the absence of law. What ICE does here in the United States is enforce the law using constitutional due process, using the court system. I mean, everything that is happening right now is legal. And to continue to demonize them, I mean, it is just dishonoring the true victims of evil in the past. And all of a sudden, these ICE officials who have taken these jobs to uphold the law, protect our communities, they themselves are now putting themselves at risk, and they're not going to want to do it anymore. And this is going to lead to a more uprising of criminal activity, unsafe communities, and rightfully so. I mean,
See, okay, I'm not going to stop it too much, but my question is, if you don't like what ICE is doing, at the end of the day, they're just doing their job. They are simply just doing their job. If you don't like the policies, that you gotta use what we can do, vote for different policy changes. It's like you go after ICE when yes, there are bad people in every profession. We've talked about that before. There are probably some bad ICE people out there who are overzealous. Is the best word to say it, and don't signify what ICE is meant to do, which is to protect the border, deport illegal immigrants. That is their job. But the same thing can be said about the police. There are bad police officers who are overzealous and don't do what the job is meant to do. Now, it'd be a total different story if people would you're hanging them on a display. Like if they were doing that to police officers, they had police officers up there saying, it'd be crazy. You cannot like what ICE is doing, but at the end of the day, they're doing their job. Just like police officers, you cannot like the police, but at the end of the day, they're doing their job. If you want change in the policy, you have to go through it the right way. Protest, legally protest, peaceful protest. You out here putting their information online, people are out there hunting them down, trying to execute them, going after their family. Come on now. What are we doing? But let's keep going into this.
Would not blame them for leaving their jobs, because if we can't protect them, then yes, they should leave their job. We have to be able to protect them. And if the governors, the mayors are not allowing National Guard or their own police force to protect ICE officials, we're going to lose them all.
I want to talk about just kind of the different realities that it seems to be that our public officials are living in. J.B. Pritzker, they're talking about the protesters, and we in America have a very proud tradition of supporting our protesters and peaceful protest across the nation. But in these cases, we have seen things that look a lot more like riots happening outside of ICE facilities. Does ICE not have the right, and the federal government have the right, to protect the people that are out there doing their jobs?
Right. Well, everyone should be protected, protesters included. And it's really unfortunate that law enforcement has to spend so much of their time dealing with this when they could be protecting and serving communities. Same thing with our federal agents who are having to take so much of their time. I'd also add these ICE agents will continue to do this job because it's a calling and they've got support from the president and the White House. They will continue to do it. The only calculation they make, because they know this is a difficult and dangerous job, is their families. That's what they're most concerned about, is that their families will be safe while they do this job that they signed up for and take the risk, and they're proud to do it. But I would also say this. When Democrats like Pritzker and others, when they say that National Guard or federal agents, when they call them an authoritarian or an invading force, okay, or they say that enforcing the law is somehow the authoritarian Trump regime, let's flash back 5 years ago when many of these governors were more than happy to have, whether it was law enforcement officers or other law enforcement bodies, policing people for going to the park with their children during COVID, surfing in the waters of Malibu during COVID. They were totally fine with having them as their personal mask police, enforcing gatherings of 8 people or less. That was totally fine. But now protecting federal agents, carrying out law and order and protecting federal facilities, now all of a sudden that's authoritarian. Please, this was 5 years ago. Never forget what they did to us during COVID.
Emily, I want to get your take on this. We, of course, have this judge, April Perry. She's a Biden appointee. She's fairly new to the bench, actually. She's only been a federal judge for less than a year. So this is a rather notable decision that she's made out there for that area. Your thoughts on she's essentially questioned the Trump administration's credibility on the issue and pushed back and has been seeking answers about just what precisely the National Guard would be doing on the ground there in the area, how far they would go beyond protecting federal facilities. Your thoughts on her ruling?
Yeah, I think that authority is different from power. And I think the authority is squarely vested in the executive branch to indeed augment when local and state law enforcement or decision makers have abdicated their duty. I think it's clear here that why Democrats and liberals and activist judges are so fearful and in their own mental mayhem is because they see that the power has been restored into an executive branch that is executing the mandate of the people. They are terrified that all of a sudden their power to police masks and what your children learn in school and putting men in women's sports, that all of that has been taken away and restored rightfully back into the hands of the people. And I think about when J.B. Pritzker and governors like him, like Gavin Newsom, who fixate on the president as a human instead of in any way acknowledging the constituents, the Americans that he's aiming to serve and protect. If we can pop up for a second that imagery, again, the horrific image, I can't get it out of my head, of the effigies hanging in in the noose with the coffins next to them in a playground of a undoubtedly taxpayer-paid neighborhood. Are you joking? That is the symbolism and the imagery that people are used to in cartel-ridden South and Central American countries that have an abject corruption that has infused the law enforcement and the administrations there. The fact that this is an American neighborhood is absolutely and patently unacceptable. Where are those leaders in that area to say not on our watch? Because at the end of the day, the risk, God help us, if any of our federal agents or in law enforcement get any more hurt than they already have been, that blood is on their hands.
David, your thoughts?
My thoughts are what keep Tom Homan up at night. And I asked him that question once. We all know him. He's a tough guy. He comes across as a very tough guy, and he is. But what keeps him up at night is not his own safety or his family's safety. It's the 400, how many? I have to look at notes. 470,000 unaccompanied children who came in during the Biden administration. Now, 300,000 of them were lost. They disappeared because of the HHS under Biden was operated terribly. We have just recently found 65,000 reports of unaccompanied kids that had case studies behind them. That is, they were trying to look for these kids that disappeared. Tom Homan is now trying to at least go back with that backlog of the 65,000 to try to find these children. That's what ICE agents are doing. In addition to kicking out, you never hear about this, but the guy who's in charge of this entire operation is more concerned about all those kids, how many of them have been trafficked, where they have been trafficked, either sexually or for work. Remember that farm, that marijuana farm in California that was busted? Yes. They got about 340 illegals, and there was a group of 500 protesters, to use Pritzker's absurd word, that were throwing stones at them, et cetera. Well, there were also about a dozen kids that were found there, unaccompanied children working on a marijuana, as slave workers working on a marijuana farm. Those are the children that keep Tom Homan up at night. So think about that when you're calling these people fascists, when you're calling these people evil. These people are fathers of children and grandfathers, et cetera, and they care a lot about the kids that were being trafficked into this country and are still here unaccompanied by their parents.
And worth noting the hundreds and hundreds of sex offenders that they've been bringing into custody over the course in recent months.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagna.
Now, let me know your thoughts on that whole situation. My main thing is, if you don't like what ICE is doing. Now, like I said, there are some bad characters in any profession. There are some bad people in ICE. There's some bad people in the police. There's bad people in the government. It's bad people, doctors. Every profession has people who don't signify or don't represent what the organization represents. But overall, the organization, their whole goal is to protect the border, deport people, but deport illegal people. Some people are like, oh, they're going to come after the black people now. What do you mean? What do you mean come after the black people? I got a birth certificate. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you disagree with what I'm saying. You think all ICE is bad and they're just going about it the wrong way? Absolutely crazy, y'all. Absolutely crazy. But like I said, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. We're going to pivot now. It looks like 28 have been arrested in a drug raid in Warner Robins. So we got to get over to that. We got 2 videos to look at. 28 people. Absolutely crazy. But let's get into it and see what we can learn. Let's get right into it.
Tonight, we're continuing our coverage of a gang and racketeering investigation. It brought state, local, and federal agencies to locations across Warner Robins.
Throughout the day, officers served search warrants at multiple homes across the city, including one on Briarwood Drive. That's where Jasmine Lee talked with neighbors about what they saw Wednesday.
You can see how quiet Briarwood Drive is right now, but earlier there were several agencies moving in and out of this home right here. One man who's lived here for decades told me it's hard to believe what's happening in his neighborhood.
Having a raid in your neighborhood is unsettling. It's not the most comforting.
This was the scene on Briarwood Drive where police say today's coordinated operation targeted alleged gang and racketeering activity. The GBI, Houston County Sheriff's Office, and U.S. Marshals helped serve search warrants at different places across the city.
It's shocking is what it is.
But Randall Duckworth says the warning signs have been growing in recent years. He's lived on Briarwood Drive for 50 years.
Over the years, you see more and more people creeping in. Here lately, I've had 2 people try to get in my cars.
While officials have not confirmed how many people were arrested or what charges may be filed, I saw officers lead a woman from this home in handcuffs, and a red pickup truck was towed from the scene. Duckworth says he hopes what happened here sparks something he's been asking for a long time.
More police patrols. We never see police patrols. And, you know, I understand this is Houston County's big growing. I've never seen a police patrol down here, and I think that would help a lot.
Reporting in Warner Robins, Jasmine Lee, 13 WMAZ News.
Authorities say the operation is still active and more information is expected in the coming days.
All right, let's get over into this next video. Gives us a little bit more detail about what's happening.
Continuing coverage tonight on a massive gang and drug bust in Warner Robins. Authorities say 28 people are now behind bars after a year-long investigation into a major narcotics ring.
Jasmine Lee sat down with District Attorney Eric Edwards, who says this is one of the largest operations he's ever led.
Even after seeing officers swarm this street just a day ago, neighbors I spoke with say they still feel safe here. Many tell me they're relieved to see police cracking down in their community.
We don't want our people in Houston County dropping dead because of ingesting illegal narcotic.
District Attorney Eric Edwards says the goal was clear: stop the flow of drugs in Houston County before it cost more lives. Wednesday's raid led to 28 arrests, all connected to a gang-driven drug operation in Warner Robins.
There had been complaints from people in the neighborhood, and it really got them looking at what was going on over there.
The investigation started in 2024 after neighbors spoke up about suspicious activity. After a year-long investigation, police gathered enough information to serve warrants at multiple locations where they found drugs like marijuana, meth, and cocaine. But for some neighbors, the bust came as a surprise.
The perspective in the neighborhood hasn't changed. I mean, I still feel safe here.
Ryan Quaid lives just a few houses away from one of the homes raided. He moved to this neighborhood 6 months ago with his family. He says from what he's seen, the streets have always been quiet.
Individual actions don't predict like anyone's, whether it's safety or anything like that, you know? And so it's like, I'm glad to see that people were doing their job and helping keep the community safe at least.
Edwards calls it one of the most extensive operations he's handled. He says it's just one step in a larger effort to keep dangerous drugs off Houston County streets.
It's been a huge focus of all of our local law enforcement. Overdose deaths are something that plagues the entire country.
Reporting in Warner Robins, Jasmine Lee, 13 WMAZ News.
DA Edwards and local law enforcement will hold a news conference at 10 a.m. on Monday.
It'll be at the Law Enforcement Center in Warner Robins, and you can watch it live Monday on 13 WMAZ.
Absolutely crazy. It's a wild situation. It's a very wild situation. Happy that they was able to get these people off the streets. People overdose is a big problem in our country. It's a very big problem with fentanyl and everything like that. You don't know what's in the drugs. People are just taking them. Some people are drug addicts. Some people take them for the first time and then get hooked. It's a terrible situation. I'm happy that the community told law enforcement about this that was happening, and they was able to do an investigation. Said it took a year of investigative work to be able to serve warrants and everything like that. Now, is that too long for these types of things? Do you think that they should have been able to get all the information they needed sooner? Or is that just something, that's just a time frame we got to deal with? It takes about a year of investigating to actually be able to do something and get a warrant. But now 28 drug dealers are off the street. People who were working with them. People who were making it, selling it on the block. Not caring who they sell it to. But that one neighbor who just moved there 6 months ago said he feels safe in the neighborhood. You can't just, and his word says that you can't just let one bad actor ruin the whole look of the neighborhood. And he is true. He is true. One bad person doesn't mean the whole neighborhood is bad. But we got to keep fighting the drug fight. There's a war on drugs. Some people forget about it. Some people don't even think about that no more. But got to keep fighting because we can't, because drugs are getting more and more into the youth nowadays. They think, oh, well, just try it one time and that's all it takes. Peer pressure is a real thing. You're hanging out with people, they try a drug, you try a drug. It's sad, but it's the reality of things. What can be done to stop it? Main thing is, one thing is just teach your kids better. Teach your kids how to say no to drugs. It's hard, yes. Especially with your friends, with the kids' friends doing them. It's hard to tell them to just stay away from it. Some kids won't listen. Some kids will. It's a tragic situation all around. But we got to keep fighting the fight. Got to keep getting these people who serve and manufacture anything, any kind of drugs, fentanyl, anything like that, that's ruining the youth of America. Methamphetamines. It's a tragic scene. Let me know your thoughts on that whole situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. Do you disagree with anything I said? Are you having any problems in your community that you want to tell the police about? Why? My question is, if the community is so bad, should you move or should you try to fix it yourself? Or try to take some part in fixing it? I wouldn't suggest trying to go over there and fix it yourself, but yeah, take some part. Talk to the police. Or what is it? Is it better just to leave? Find a new community. It's a lot of questions, but let me know your thoughts on that whole situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you disagree. Like I said, let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Absolutely crazy. Now we're going to pivot over into, looks like a road rage killer. Yes, a road rage killer gets probation and community service. I don't know much information about the story, but it sounds like he ended up shooting somebody in a road rage during a road rage incident. And the judge only gave him probation and community service. I don't know why, but let's get over into it and see if we can learn what the judge was thinking, why they gave him community service. We got 2 videos to look at, but let's jump right into it and see what we can find out.
It's 4 years of probation and community service for the man who killed a doctor during what officials call a road rage incident.
Tonight, we speak with Dr. Jeffrey Honer's widow and children about the emotional sentencing and hear from the man who pulled the trigger. On March 15, 2024, Dr. Jeffrey Honer was with a caravan of nurses in the area of Houghton and Snyder. Authorities say Jason Jamison, another driver on the road, admitted to shooting and killing Jeffrey Honer after the two got into a disagreement. According to the interim complaint, Jamison told the dispatcher he shot someone. Jamison claimed Honer punched him, and he then shot Dr. Honer in the back while claiming self-defense. He was initially arrested on a second-degree murder charge, but was arraigned on a manslaughter charge. He then ultimately pleaded guilty to negligent homicide. And today, a judge decided his sentence. We were in the courtroom as that was read.
Smart, very funny. He was so caring. He would always take time out of his day to help others, and he would do anything for us, and he was amazing. He was always there when you needed him, and he was a good teacher.
That's how the children of Dr. Jeffrey Honer remember him. Today was a difficult one, as the man who shot and killed Honer learned his fate for the crime. Family members of Honer took the stand to tell the courtroom who Honer was and plead with the judge to give Jason Jamison the maximum sentence, 1 to 3.5 years in prison and probation up to 4 years.
The defendant is correct in saying he didn't know my husband. That's exactly why before choosing to pull out a weapon and selfishly take a life, he should have considered the far-reaching ramifications of his actions.
Father's Day, I had to go to the gravesite while Mr. Jameson spent the day with his kids. Mr. Jameson took my father from me, from all of us.
He hasn't learned his lesson, and he's definitely not remorseful. He's just figured out that this is his best option.
And for the first time, we heard from Jason Jameson, who said if he could take back what he did, he would.
Your Honor, there's no words I can say to express how sorry I am. My family had a lot of the same values as myself. And sometimes people have bad days, make mistakes, and I made a mistake.
Despite all of the impact statements, the judge sentenced Jameson to probation for 4 years and 200 hours of community service. And after reading the sentence, the judge said this, which some of Honer's family members saw as contradictory to the sentence.
I'm so sick of gun violence. I've seen it for over 50 years. I was a prosecutor, I've been a judge for 28 years, and it's just sickening, the gun violence in our country.
Mr. Jameson did not have to shoot my husband. My husband posed no threat to him. He was unarmed. He was walking away. Mr. Jameson did not need to use the gun. He did. And that's what encourages gun violence.
It's unresolved. It's just complete injustice. And it's a fear for the lesson we've taught, Jeff's kids, is that there is just going to be injustice. And yes, the world is not fair, but we rely on the courts to provide justice, and they have failed us.
Alyssa says she forgives Jameson, and she knows her husband does too. For now, the Honer family continues to try to heal, as Jeff's son has become the man of the house, and his daughters find strength.
It's a tragic situation. Absolutely tragic. It's crazy to think that he was facing 1 to 3 years, and they gave him 4 years probation with 200 hours of community service. And then he made that statement at the end talking about he's sick of gun violence, but he seems like he went light on the sentencing for someone who just did a crime using a gun. Let's go into this next video and see what else we can find out. This is more about the woman, the wife, talking about her husband and how she feels about it. So let's get into it.
Back here at home in Arizona, a widow is outraged after a judge sentenced her husband's killer to only 4 years probation and 200 hours of community service. The man spared prison time after killing Dr. Jeffrey Honer last year in a road rage shooting. Our next guest is calling out the DA's office, demanding they focus on protecting the public instead of criminals. Dr. Jeffrey Honer's widow Alyssa and brother Kenneth both join me now. Thank you so much for joining us to you both. We're so sorry for your loss, and the details of this situation are just incomprehensible. Alyssa, I'll start with you. What was your reaction to this sentence and your husband's killer getting spared jail time?
Like I said, we were just absolutely, it was unfathomable for us. We were shocked to get this sentence, especially after the judge seemed so sympathetic to our case.
Yeah, he did. He even cried and said, "I'm so sick of gun violence," but your husband's killer received a slap on the wrist. How could this happen?
Yes. There are so many factors at play here, and a lot of it is what is going on with the DA's office. I feel that they are overwhelmed, overworked, and just the whole process and the process of investigation, everything. Ken will talk more about all of that, but...
Yeah, Ken, what is your reaction to this sentence and how this could happen?
Right. We were shocked. We felt like the justice system let us down on this. Clearly, we expected a different outcome. And
I mean, I can completely understand why they felt like the justice system let them down. I can't understand it. Why give someone who committed who was supposed to get 1 to 3 years, gave him a slap on the wrist by giving him 4 years probation after a man is gone. But it's at the end of the day, it's our justice system, and he was judged, and we got to live with it. They can, I think, can they appeal? I don't know. Let's keep going.
We didn't get it, and I think part of it, as Alyssa said, is that the DA's office it's had a lot of turnover. We lost our initial prosecutor. I've heard that they've lost half the prosecutors in that office, and as a result, they have limited staff and they're willing to make a deal.
Alyssa, in the short time that we have remaining, tell us about your husband and what you would like people to know about him.
My husband was an amazing individual. He knew so many people. He was everyone's best friend. That's how everyone always talks about him. He was always ready to help anyone in need, whether it was his patients or people, from our church congregation or just in the community. He loved to take care of animals, of patients, and he was just always ready to do his best.
Yeah, well, it feels like a loss 2 times over with the loss of your husband and your brother. And then the outcome of this case just feels like such a deep injustice. But Alyssa, Ken, maybe with your advocacy, you can help change the criminal justice system moving forward. Alyssa, Ken Honer, we are so sorry for your loss, and thank you for speaking out to us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a crazy situation all about. It's a crazy situation all about. Let's see. I was just trying to look up, see if we have any quick details, go to see if we can find anything. Let's go over to here. So recently received probation, service instead of prison time in a fatal road rage incident. Case details: convicted individual in October 2025. Jason Scott Jameson was sentenced to 4 years probation and 200 hours of community service. The victim, Jameson, was convicted for killing Dr. Jeffrey Howe, which occurred during a road rage incident in March 2024. Plea agreement. The sentence came after Jameson's plead guilty to negligent homicide. His probation was part of the plea deal with the prosecutor. Public reaction. So the sentence had drawn strong criticism from the public and the victim's family, including his widow, who described the outcome as deep injustice. So legal precedent for probation. So while a sentence of probation for a fatal road rage incident is uncommon, it is possible in certain homicide cases. So it varies by jurisdiction and charges. The possibility of probation depends on specific state laws, the exact charge, and the defendant's criminal history. Negligent homicide versus murder. So a plea to negligent homicide, as in Jameson's case, is a significantly lesser charge than murder, which typically excludes the possibility of probation. Lesser charges. It is more likely for probation to be considered in cases involving lesser forms of homicide, like involuntary or vehicular manslaughter, especially if there is no aggravated factor such as driving under the influence. Factors judges consider when deciding on probation. Judges weigh several factors: the specifics of the case, the defendant's criminal history, the defendant's behavior before and after the incident, and any mitigating circumstances presented by the defense. Now, let me know your thoughts, y'all. Do y'all think that the judge gave him too much of a slap on the wrist for this? Do you think that he should have actually gotten? But it was in the plea deal, so he pleaded guilty to negligent homicide. So that was why it was only, I think it was 1 to 3 years at the most for that charge. He gave him 4 years probation, 200 hours of community service. How do you feel about that? Do you think that it was just too much of a slap on the wrist for this? I think at the end of the day, I think he should have gotten some jail time. I don't know the exact circumstances of the whole case. Were they fighting, something like that? But it sounded like during the sentencing, he was walking away, or during the court when they was trying to sentence him, they described it as him walking away, trying to de-escalate the situation by walking away. And he ended up still shooting him. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, I think he should have gotten at least some jail time. Maybe a year. Something just to help the family. Just getting him getting to go home on probation seems just a little too light to me. And I think it's just going to send a bad... I don't want criminals to think that the justice system is light on crime. That's the main thing. I don't want criminals to think that the justice system is light on crime, because if they believe that it's light on crime, they're more likely to commit it. That is my thinking, but let me know your thoughts and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Now we got one more story to get over into. It's a shorter video for today, but we'll be back at it Tuesday. But let's get over into this last topic. It looks like an elderly man's body was found in a freezer. Yes, I said it. An elderly man's body was found in a freezer at an assisted living facility. Somebody's getting fired and sued. That is my first thoughts, but let's get over into it. We got 2 videos to look at. Let's get over into it and see what we can learn about this whole situation. He looks like a sweet old man. Let's get into it.
So we've got a family in Tampa Bay wanting answers after an 83-year-old man was found dead at his assisted living facility in Trinity. The Pasco County Sheriff's Office tells us he was found in a walk-in freezer. His family says he had dementia, but they want some answers. Fox 13's Kylie Jones spoke with his family. He wants to make sure this never happens to any other family. Kylie, this is so sad. What more do you know?
Mark, it's heartbreaking. The family of William Eugene Ray hoped to cherish the limited time they knew they had left with him. Now they want to know how this could have happened.
Yeah, good question.
William Eugene Ray was a lot of things.
He was funny, he was artistic, very creative, always happy, always smiling, friendly to everyone.
And a proud 36-year veteran of the U.S. Navy. To his wife, though, he was Gene, and to his 2 adult children, he was Dad.
He, never raised his voice. He was just so hardworking. His work ethic was incredible.
Kristen Spencer says her father started showing signs of dementia, although he was still physically active at 83 years old.
Mentally, the dementia, it was just progressing.
In May, Gene's family made the difficult decision to move him into the Waverly Assisted Living and Memory Care in Trinity.
There was no issues right at the beginning. As time progressed, though, you see, when you're there all the time, you see things, and so you see these little things that start to send up concerns.
Among them were concerns about staffing.
You put your loved one in there with trust.
Spencer installed a Ring camera in her dad's room to keep an eye on him when she couldn't be there.
I woke up the next morning, and when I looked at the Ring camera, the light was on and he was not in his room.
In immediate panic, Spencer called her mother, then called the Waverly to alert staff. They raced to the facility. More time passed until a staff member came in and told them they found Gene.
But then the next words out of her mouth was, "He's in the freezer." And I said, "What do you mean he's in the freezer?"
Spencer.
Where are the people who's supposed to be watching him? How did he get into the freezer? There's too many questions here. What do you mean he's in the freezer? Come on now. What are we talking about? I mean, I understand dementia. They're not in the right mind anymore, but the freezer wasn't locked. You're in an assisted living facility that has, I'm assuming it has plenty of people with dementia. So you just don't keep it locked? He was just able to walk in there? No, there's a lot of questions. Let's keep going.
Says her father was found in a walk-in freezer in the facility.
We need answers. We need answers. How could this happen?
Spencer says the Ring camera shows her dad get out of bed and leave his room at about 12:30 in the morning, hours before he was found in the freezer.
If we had not called the facility, and when would they have found him?
We reached out to the Waverly. A spokesman said they've never experienced an incident of this nature. He said, quote, "Our community is deeply saddened by this heartbreaking loss. The grief felt by our entire staff is indescribable. We are truly proud of our staff's profound and immediate response to the situation."
Basic safety measures not in place. When you have vulnerable people in a place, you have to secure these areas.
That just makes sense to
Spencer
me.
says at this point they haven't received any explanation or been contacted by the facility since her father's death. We did also ask the facility about staffing concerns. A spokesman for the Waverly said they're in compliance with all regulations and that the safety, dignity, and well-being of their residents is their highest priority.
Yeah, so they gave a general answer. They gave a general answer of what
Tonight,
felt
our
like
I-team is looking.
What the law would tell them to give, what their lawyer would tell them to give. That sounds like to me. Now, there's so many questions. Like, there should be people, if a patient has dementia, come on now, there should be someone watching the front, watching the cameras, seeing if they leave the room. Come on now. It's common sense. Absolute common. Let's get into this next video and see what else we can learn.
Looking into the case of an elderly man with dementia who died from hypothermia.
The Pasco County Sheriff's Office says that the man who lived at an assisted living facility in Trinity disappeared from his room last week and was discovered trapped in a walk-in freezer.
How could this happen? Basic safety measures not in place to secure the kitchen.
I-team investigator Adam Malser was able to track down the man's family. His daughter agreed to tell this story, hoping to prevent something like this from ever happening again.
William Eugene Ray, who went by Gene, brought joy to those around him.
He played the harmonica. I mean, he loved to play the harmonica.
His daughter Kristen says he spent his final months entertaining residents and staff at the Waverly Assisted Living and Memory Care in Trinity.
Looks like a nice
Gene
facility
lived
too.
Since May.
And here is his harmonica.
Oh, wow. That harmonica is now among the treasured keepsakes of a life cut short, including models of bridges and battleships Gene built for his grandson, drawings of planes and muscle cars, and mementos from decades he served in the Navy Reserve. Gene moved into the Waverly because his family wanted him to be safe.
He had dementia. It was, getting to a point where my mom just couldn't handle it.
The facility, which opened last year, advertises elegance in living, excellence in service on its website.
I know you must have thought that this is going to be a...
That costs some money. We got to be honest. It costs some money.
A wonderful home for your
Oh,
mom.
absolutely.
But Kristen says red flags started to appear.
There were issues with staffing that we were aware of.
That prompted Kristen to install a Ring camera in her father's room. On September 26th, she woke up and...
that he was not in his room. The light was on and he wasn't in his room.
Kristen went through video clips and saw her father left his room at 12:33 a.m., but never returned. Kristen called the facility to notify the staff, then called her mom, who met her at the Waverly. Nearly 8 hours after Gene went missing,
the director came in and said they found him. And then she said he was in the freezer. And I said, what do you mean he's in the freezer? I couldn't even believe the words that I was hearing.
EMS arrived and rushed him to Trinity Medical Center, a stone's throw from the facility. But by the time Gene arrived, it was too late.
His core body temperature was 66 degrees.
According to a report we obtained from the Pasco County Medical Examiner, the preliminary cause of death was hypothermia. The Pasco County Sheriff's Office and the Agency for Healthcare Administration, or ACA, are investigating. A representative of the Waverly who did not share his name called me, and he declined an on-camera interview citing privacy concerns. He did confirm that the Waverly is cooperating fully with investigators. He said detectives spent 12 hours here on the scene gathering evidence, and he says that the facility turned over all its interior surveillance footage from that day. He provided a statement saying in part, quote, "We consistently staff our building at more than double the minimum requirements established by ACA." Attorney Steve Barnes.
That's a contradiction right there, and it was So the daughter of the patient who died, the elderly man who was found in the freezer, said that she noticed staffing concerns, but the facility itself says no, we double the minimum of what is required.
Presents Gene's family has filed a notice of intent to file a wrongful death lawsuit alleging negligence and or deviation from the standards of care.
There's got to be multiple points that this could have been prevented, and that's what we're going to be looking at, not just locks on 2 sets of doors, but how one of their residents at that time of the night can be left to wander common areas of the building without somebody at least asking questions or seeing why he's down there.
Why do you think it's important that word gets out that something like this happened?
Well, it needs not to happen again. You know, we've done some investigation and found out something very similar happened in Utah.
That Utah case involved 75-year-old Ricky Rubik, who was found trapped in a freezer at the Meadows at Escalante Assisted Living Facility and died of frostbite and hypothermia 4 days later. The Utah Department of Health and Human Services fined the facility $11,200 for multiple violations and placed its license on conditional status.
I play a little music and come back down and say.
Kristen says she wants justice for her father.
And in those moments, with him locked in there, all by himself, like for hours, I don't even have words.
Have there been apologies?
Of course.
No.
What?
Nothing. They failed us. They failed my family. They failed my dad. That's the bottom line.
I'm I-Team investigator Adam Walser with photojournalist Matt McGlashan, Tampa Bay 28.
We should mention up until this incident on September 26th, the Waverly Assisted Living and Memory Care Facility had not been cited for any violations by the state.
Absolutely crazy. And they said that another lady died in Utah. Trapped in, I want to know if she was had dementia. They only fined them $11,000. Do y'all think that was enough money to be fined? But I am a complete agreement that they should sue the living facility. It's not going to bring them back, of course, but they got to do something. Because come on, man, a patient with dementia was able to get out of bed at 12 past midnight, wander the halls, and then somehow get into a walk-in freezer and lock himself in. Nah, something's wrong. There's not enough staff. Something is wrong. Someone's not watching the cameras. Come on now. What are we doing? What are we thinking? But they're going to go through the lawsuit process and hopefully they get awarded something. Because that is a crazy situation. You got to pray for the family. They thought they had more time with them. A little bit more time at least. And then then your father ends up dying in a horrible situation of hypothermia, of trapped in a freezer in a place where he was supposed to be safe against himself. Absolute crazy. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Have there been any sketchy things happening in any of your family members or anything like that with living facilities, assisted living facilities? You gotta do your research on these places, but they said that they didn't have any complaints in the past or any what is it called? Yeah, basically any complaints are saying that they're violating some of the standards. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Absolutely crazy. Let me know your thoughts on that situation. But that is the end of the show. A little bit shorter today. I had some I ended up actually, I gotta make sure I don't just start hitting buttons. So I accidentally ended the live stream and then started this one. So it was a little craziness. So this is in 2 parts, but the videos, like always, will be broken down. Thank you for tuning in now. Thank you for tuning in later. Remember, this is AC Reviews the World, and I am your host, AC the Engineer. And remember, we got to review the world together, y'all. We got to review the world together. Like I always mention, if you have any videos that you want me to review, please send it over to my email. The email is acreviewstheworld@gmail.com, a dot after the A and a dot after the C. But you already know I got to play the outro. I'm going to play the outro, but that's it, y'all. Peace.